Look up on a clear night, and you're seeing only the faintest edge of what's out there. The universe is almost unimaginably large, and most of what happens in it we detect only as faint signals, strange objects, and flashes of light we can't fully explain. A radio signal that came once and never again. A visitor from another star that moved the wrong way. A star that dims like nothing else. Bursts of energy from across the universe. And something so massive, it's pulling our entire galaxy toward it. These aren't science fiction. They were recorded by real telescopes, and science still can't fully explain them. In this video, we're looking at 5 real space mysteries that researchers still can't fully explain. Not aliens, at least not that anyone can show. Just real data and real open questions. We'll start with a single moment in 1977 that has puzzled astronomers ever since. On the night of August 15, 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio called the Big Ear was quietly scanning the sky. The next day, a researcher checking the printouts saw something that stopped him. For 72 seconds, a signal had come in from deep space, far stronger than the background, at one very specific frequency. He circled it in red pen and wrote a single word in the margin. Wow. The signal seemed to come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It was narrow, powerful, and looked almost exactly like what astronomers imagined a deliberate transmission might look like. And then, nothing. The telescope looked again, night after night, for years. The signal never came back. Decades later, researchers are still arguing about it. A 2025 study suggested a natural cause, a cloud of hydrogen gas suddenly brightened by a burst of radiation from a distant star. It's a strong idea, but it hasn't been confirmed, and the exact source is still unknown. One signal, 72 seconds, never repeated. The next mystery didn't send a signal, it came to us. In October 2017, a telescope in Hawaii spotted a faint dot moving through the solar system far too fast to belong here. For the first time, we had caught an object from another star, a piece of some distant system passing through our own. They named it Oumuamua. It was strange from the start, long and thin, or possibly flat, tumbling end over end, and reddish. Nothing in our solar system quite looks like it. But the strangest part came as it left. As it swung away from the sun, it sped up, just slightly, more than gravity alone could explain. For a comet, that's normal. Gases boil off and give it a push. But Oumuamua showed almost no visible gas and no tail. So what pushed it? Astronomers have proposed answers. Venting hydrogen ice, an unusual fluffy structure, a whole new class of dark comets. A few even wondered, briefly, if it was artificial, though there's no evidence for that. The honest answer is that its exact nature is still unresolved. And it's already gone, out of reach, forever. The next mystery stayed put, but makes no more sense. About 1,400 light-years away sits an ordinary-looking star, until you watch its light. Most stars dim in tiny, predictable ways when a planet passes in front. This one, nicknamed Tabby's star, does something else entirely. Its brightness drops suddenly and unevenly, sometimes by a few percent, sometimes by as much as 20, with no clean pattern at all. When it was found, the dips were so strange that one idea made headlines around the world, that a giant alien structure might be orbiting the star, blocking its light. But the evidence pointed elsewhere. When the star dims, it blocks more blue light than red, which is what dust does, not a solid object. So the leading explanation is an uneven cloud of dust and debris orbiting the star. Still, it doesn't explain everything. The star also seems to have faded slowly over about a century, and no one is quite sure why. A cloud of dust is the best answer we have. It just isn't the whole answer. The next mystery is louder, much louder, and comes from across the entire universe. Somewhere out in the cosmos, a burst of radio energy flares for a few thousandths of a second, and in that instant, releases as much energy as the sun pours out in days. We call them fast radio bursts. They come from far outside our galaxy, sometimes billions of light years away, and they were only discovered in 2007. Most appear once and never again, but some repeat, flickering on and off in patterns we don't understand. For years, no one knew what could possibly produce them. Then, in 2020, a burst was finally traced to a magnetar inside our own galaxy, a neutron star with a magnetic field trillions of times stronger than Earth's. That solved part of the puzzle, but not all of it. Some bursts have since been traced to places a magnetar shouldn't be, including the edge of an old, dead galaxy. We now detect them almost daily. We still can't fully explain what makes every single one. The final mystery isn't a signal or a star. It's a force, and it's pulling on everything, including us. Our galaxy is not sitting still. The Milky Way, with everything in it, including you, is racing through space at around 2 million kilometers per hour. And for decades, astronomers have wondered what exactly we're racing toward. Something is pulling us, a region a few 100 million light-years away, with the gravitational weight of tens of thousands of galaxies. They call it the Great Attractor. Here's the problem. We can't see it clearly. It lies almost directly behind the dense, dusty heart of our own galaxy, a part of the sky astronomers call the zone of avoidance, and it blocks our view. We've since learned it isn't the whole story. Part of the pull comes from an even larger, more distant supercluster, and part comes from a vast, empty void behind us, effectively pushing us away. But we still can't fully map what's out there, or account for all of our motion. The largest, most powerful mystery on this list isn't a faint dot or a brief flash. It's that our entire galaxy is being pulled towards something we still can't clearly see. 5 mysteries, 1 universe. A signal that came once. A visitor that moved wrong. A star that dims like no other, bursts from across the cosmos, and a pull we can't fully explain. What they share is simple. The universe is vast beyond imagining, and we've only just started to listen. The mystery isn't that we know nothing. It's how much is still out there, waiting to be understood. If you want to keep exploring the unknown, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.